show committed to equipping you to hone your media skills better to stand out from the crowd as a go-to expert in your field. Each week, Rich Bontrager interviews top leaders, influencers, authors, speakers, podcasters, and media professionals about how to leverage media best to help you shine brighter on camera and stage as a go-to expert. Now, here's your host, The Trigger, Rich Bontrager.
Welcome back to How to Rock the Stage Live. It's Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're streaming on multiple channels again, always with How to Rock the Stage. You learn how to shine on camera, shine on stage, elevate you and your brand authority. And tonight we have a great conversation coming up about performance. The world's a stage, right? All the world's a stage. Whether you like it or not, it's part of it. Learning how to perform, show up, communicate. We're going to have a great conversation tonight with our guests. And we also do want to mention that Rock the Stage is brought to you each and every week by two amazing partners who are helping to make this possible. First of all, we want to thank the National Speakers Association, the NSA. They just got done celebrating 50 years. They had a 50-year gala celebration in Orlando during the month of July. I'm a proud member of the National Speakers Association. Learn more about the NSA and how it will help you elevate you as a public speaker. And, of course, Audavita Studios makes it possible to power what we're doing. They are our brand ambassador. They take this show, they turn it into a podcast after it's all done, and they push it out on many different platforms. They clean up the audio if it needs cleaned up. They have a magical team. Audavita is helping us with Rock the Stage each and every week. Tonight, we're going to get into performance, and we're going to dig deeper into it and talk about the three keys of winning performance, not just performing, but winning, striving, and growing you and your brand authority. Tonight, we have David Breslow with us. David is a highly sought-after performance coach whose clients include speakers, pro and amateur athletes, creative artists such as actors, writers, directors, and businesses, both small and large. His one-of-a-kind approach elevates how you live, work, and play both quickly and consistently, whatever performer truly desires, and make no mistakes because you are the performer. Welcome to Rock the Stage tonight, David Breslow. David, great to see you.
Hey, Triggs. So, I got to tell you, the doctor says to the patient, I got bad news and I got really bad news. so the patient says, well, okay, just give me the bad news. Well, I said the bad news is you got 24 hours to live. And the patient goes, well, what are you kidding me? I got 24. What could be worse than that? And the doctor says, well, the really bad news is I've been trying to get a hold of you since yesterday morning.
Boom.
Boom. So let's get beyond the words, man.
Well, great to see people checking in, letting us know here, Jan and the others streaming along tonight. Thank you for, again, and as always, ask questions, chime in and support. Send some of those emojis if you want to do that. Hey, by the way, Dave, before we begin, did you know today is National Coloring Book Day?
I saw that on your email, and I had no idea before that.
Did you ever get into the coloring books? Were you a creative artist even back then?
No, I became a creative artist much later in my life. I always thought I was creative, but most of my life, I never believed it. I played the game. I did the straightforward. I drew inside the lines, metaphorically.
Yep.
And somewhere around 35-ish, 36, 38, I said, you know what? I'm more creative than this. I gotta be. I admire people who are creative. Yep. And I said, they can't be the only ones. Why not me? So then all of a sudden I started writing. I started acting. I started doing all these things that people who knew me before that were looking at me going, are you kidding me, Dave? Dave's an actor? Dave's an author? Dave's coaching other people? Yes. So no, I wasn't always like that. I just always wanted to be.
You know, there's a lot of people that want to be, but they don't step out. And again, you've done different areas, but you found yourself as this peak performance coach. And what separates you? Because I know there are peak performance type coaches, but what makes Dave Breslow so special?
Well, I'm going to get into this also as point number 3, which is to learn how to differentiate yourself from others, because I've seen so many videos where people have made their own marketing videos,
Yeah.
and they all sound the same. And let's take golf, for example. Golf is a world that I've done a lot of performance coaching
Yes,
in.
you have.
And the teaching pros, what they will do is that they decided that they want to start promoting themselves to get more clients. Great. So they make this home video, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. And yet they all look the same. They sound the same. And all the benefits are exactly the same. Hit the ball further, uh, lower your scores, reduce your stress, no more three putting on the green. I mean, they all sound exactly the same.
Right.
And so when I started, I I realized, and when people ask me what I do, how I differentiate myself, and this goes to answer your question,
Mm-hmm.
is that they think I'm a life coach, and I say, no, no, I'm not a life coach. I'm a performance coach. I don't do anything that a life coach does. And so how I differentiate myself is I will not give you a tip. I will not give you a strategy. I will not give you theory. I will not give you a concept. And I will not give you any psychobabble. And yet, you will elevate the way you live, work, or play as a byproduct of what I'm teaching you, which are 7 laws of human performance. That's what differentiates me from your average coaching model. The average coaching model says, tell me your problem, I'll give you some strategies, I'll give you some coping mechanisms, and then you go apply them. And if somebody ever calls me and says that's what they want, my answer is, you really need to look elsewhere.
So that kind of answered my next question, but probe deeper into that. You've done pro and amateur athletes. You're doing creative artists, writers, directors. You work with a lot of creatives. So when
Right.
you tell them you're not what they expect you are, and you tell them this other stuff,
Right.
do they have a hard time opening up and to really trusting your version
Some
of performance?
Well, some have a hard time understanding that because it goes completely against their model. I get that. Some don't want to hear it. Some hang up on me because they can't believe it. But the reality is, I can get the same results everybody else can get, plus, without ever mentioning the same thing the way they do. I call it the Miyagi approach. If you ever, and most people have seen the original uh, uh, movie, and this was the original one with what's his name, uh, Mr. Miyagi, the original Miyagi,
Yep.
Pat Morita. And if you remember the movie, when he was teaching Daniel karate, he was having him do what? Paint the fence, wax the car, sand the floor, all this other crap, to the point where Daniel got so mad in that one scene, he said, "No, damn it, I want to learn karate. I'm done." He was all sore from painting and all that stuff. And he started to walk away. And then the next thing you hear is Miyagi going, "Daniel-san, what? Show me, paint the fence." So he shows him all these things.
Yes.
And I call it the Miyagi approach because I'm doing the same thing without realizing it at first. I'm teaching people exactly what they want without actually specifically teaching, because I don't have to. Like if they want confidence, I don't have to say a word about confidence. When you learn law number 1, you're automatically, as a byproduct, a way more confident individual. And I may never even say the word. That's what they can't believe until they start doing it, and they're like, "Oh my God." By session number 3, they're saying to me, "Oh, you were right. You were right. I can't believe it's really true." I said, "Yeah, I told you. I didn't
Well,
believe you."
Jan is tracking right along with Wax On, Wax Off, Karate Kid. If you haven't
Right.
seen it, it's a classic. You got to go Google the movie, check it out on
Got to see it.
Netflix. But it is exactly what you're talking about.
It's
He was
fantastic.
teaching without teaching the way you normally teach, but it also became more instinctive for Daniel. After a
Right.
while, it was just instinctive to do what he did. Is that
Right.
kind of what you do to get people to be more instinctive with it as well?
That's exactly what I do. So that's why I say there's no tips and no strategies. You just learn the law. And these laws, by the way, are the laws by which all human beings produce outcomes. All human beings. There's no getting around it. It doesn't matter
So,
who you are.
so
All
what are some of
humans.
the elements that bring about successful people? What are some of the things that you put together? What's your secret sauce for building someone that's going to be more performance oriented, geared for it, whatever?
Well, I just gave you the secret sauce. It's the laws. It's the laws, believe it or not. And the real secret sauce beyond that is once everybody knows who they really are, I wrote an article about this on LinkedIn yesterday because somebody was talking about performance in the traditional way. And I wrote a post that said, well, here's a non-traditional view. When somebody knows who they really are, meaning that you know that you are born with 4 tools that I call your power tools:
Okay.
a mind, a body, your emotions, and your energy. Everybody has these tools. Now, by law, these things operate together. And when they operate together and you understand that, there's nothing you can't accomplish. Nothing.
So those are 4 basic solid truths. But like some people who are not as coordinated as some people can play the NBA and some of us can't dribble a ball. So what do you do when some of those 4 areas are not in balance or at their peak? How do you help them shift those to get it all centered
Well,
in the right way?
they're already not in balance. That's why they call. But they don't know that. They don't look at it that way.
Okay.
They are mired in the traditional approach, which is, I got a problem. Can you give me a bunch of tips and strategies and help me with that? And my answer is no. No? No. Haven't you done that already? Yeah. How many people have you talked to about this? I don't know, 6 or 7. Haven't you gotten a bunch of tips and strategies? Yeah, I got a lot of them. Then why are you calling me, asking me for the same thing that you already know doesn't work? I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not. I'm not going to take your money and give you the same garbage that you can get going online for free. What do you want me to do? Tell you that being competent is important? You want me to tell you that being fearful gets in the way? Don't you already know that? Yeah. Okay, then stop it already. So the reality is this: I talk about laws and truths. Everything I say is a truth. It's not my truth. I don't jam my truth down your throat. These are basic laws that I have nothing to do with. I didn't make them up. I just gave them a name and put them in a sequence. So
So there is
every
a secret. So there is a secret sauce. So what are some of those sequences? What are some of those laws that you impart on people to help them assemble it properly?
Okay, well, I get asked that all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'll give you the name of a couple of them, and then I'll tell you right off the bat the name doesn't mean a damn thing.
Okay.
Okay, because you're going to hear that and you go, well, that's nothing new. It's not. It's the information that I'm giving you underneath that law when we talk. That's where the sauce is. And that's what other people are not telling you. So, law number 1, by the way, and I'm about to give a talk about this, and it is called the law of awake and asleep. So, here's the deal: most people are asleep most of the day. So, let me give you 2 definitions so we're on the same page. And, audience, whoever you are, wherever you are, take out a sheet of paper. Do not let this go by, because I'm about to give you something you can use for the rest of your life and elevate your level of consciousness anytime and anywhere. And I'm not kidding. So grab a piece of paper and grab a pen and take a note or 2.
Well,
So,
Jan's already taken notes. So she's tracking with you. So go for it. What's next?
okay, the law of awake and asleep. Awake means that you act and react consciously out of conscious awareness with full awareness of the consequences. That's my definition. Asleep is just the opposite. It means you act and react unconsciously out of rote habit without awareness of the consequences, which means you say, you think, you do, you feel the same thing over and over and over again. And most people are walking around the planet in that state of asleep. Somebody says something and you get upset. Somebody does something, you get jealous. Somebody, blah, 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 you feel small. You want to be a speaker, you start to think about being speaking, you get fearful. Okay, those are asleep reactions.
Gotcha.
It's not even you, it's asleep. So here's the deal. At the end of that law, I'm going to give you the exercise that I give my paying clients. It's a check-in question. I'm big on check-in questions.
Okay.
The question is, as you go throughout your day, the moment you're off center, the moment you feel a little bit weak, a little bit jealous, a little bit stressed, anything off center a little bit, you check in and you go, okay, am I awake or asleep right now? Write this down, folks. Am I awake or asleep right now? Now, here's the beauty of this, Rich. The second you ask that question, you're automatically awake. You cannot ask that question and be asleep. Impossible. The second you ask it, you're awake. And in that moment, you have a window of time where you can make a new choice in situations where you have never made that choice before. And I've heard from people doing this because I have them journal this before the next conversation of law number 2, which is the law of focused energy, which again, that title it's nothing. It's a general title. But what I talk about energetically blows people away. So back to the law of awake and asleep. They eventually tell me, oh my God, number 1, I had no idea how asleep I was.
Right.
Most of the time. Number 2, every time I checked in, I made a new choice. And I used to go to workshops, Dave. I used to pay a lot of money for people to teach me how to make better choices. And all of a sudden I'm making them. And you didn't say a word about it. And I don't. Because people will often ask me, what choice should I make, Dave? I don't know.
Well, okay, so that is the next question, because if you're going to be awake, you've had that epiphany of, oh crap, I'm not thinking right. I'm off here. I should be here. Their natural question is going to be, Dave, can you help me figure out how to start thinking right and thinking better?
No.
Other way.
No, because that very question, if you were my client and you asked me that question, what I would say to you is, who just asked me that question? Was that trigger being awake or trigger being asleep? And the second I ask the question, they know. They go, oh, I guess that was me being asleep. That's the kind of question I ask all the damn time. I said, you're damn right. Thank you very much. You just woke up. You did it on your own.
But that is the natural progression of how that goes. It usually is that, oh, wait, help me figure it out more. Well, you're really empowering them to figure it out themselves.
That's all I'm ever doing. I'm saying, stop. Again, the traditional approach is you need to rely on me. You need to call me every week for like a year and a half. You need to sign a contract. And I don't do that. I have 10 sessions with people and we're done. I don't want them calling me for a year and a half. Because if they're doing that, that means I haven't done my job. Because everything I do puts you in position to understand your power. And you don't need me to answer a question like that anymore.
Well, Erin's chiming in saying she loves how clear and concise. You said this was going to be clear and concise when we started. And she said she's liking it because you're speaking it straight on. So what are some of the other things that we can learn here? Because you are empowering them to think for themselves, but you are, again, the idea of being awake is a huge concept for people. We are
totally
walking through life as zombies, missing so much.
And I'll say it again, not to be repetitive, but literally a life-changing moment. If you take, audience, what I just said, and you ask that check-in question, do it the second we're done with this show. I don't care if you're at home, if you're with your mate, if you're going to school, going to the gas station, going to the grocery store. I don't care where you are. The moment you're off base, check in. Am I awake or asleep right now? Your brain is going to give you an answer. You don't have to worry about anything after that. Just get the motor started by asking the question.
So let's drill that down into the whole performance area. Because you're a peak performance coach. To get the best performance out of people at work and home and life like you do, how do you move them since now they're awake, they're ready to receive, they're ready to move to the next level? How do you do that?
And just to add to that one moment real quick, the reason I start out with that law is number 1 is I want to talk to somebody who's awake on the rest of those sessions.
Yeah.
Because I already know that's my main issue with traditional coaching or psychology or whatever. They don't realize they're dumping a whole bunch of information on people who are dead asleep, which is why they're not getting the results as quickly. I go to parties and I run into a therapist and, what do you do, Dave? Oh, I'm a peak performance coach. I help people, blah, blah, blah. They go, oh, I do the same thing. I go, no, you don't. You may do the same. We may have the same goal in mind, but I promise you how we get there is 2 different worlds. And that's usually when they walk away from me, which is fine, because I'm talking a whole nother method than they are. And that's fine. So to answer your question now.
Yeah.
I'm not ignoring you. As far as performance, we know, or at least we started out with 3 keys.
Mhm.
Key number 1 is preparation. Preparation. Now, when a speaker hears that, they may be thinking, oh, okay, I need to prepare my speech. I need to prepare my notes. No, I'm not talking about that. An actor, and most actors are not very good at this, preparation involves really understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it and your character. You have to ask questions. And here is the meat under the preparation flag. You have to ask questions. Uh, why am I here? What do I want? Okay, an actor has to ask, what do I want in a scene? If you don't want anything, there is no scene. As a speaker, what do you want? Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. No, what do you really want? Okay, it's really important to get to the essence of what you really want. I want to give a good speech. That's not what you really want.
Well, and I've been around actors and actor coaches, and you're exactly right. What is the pain of the scene? What is the depth of the scene? What is the emotion that you would be feeling as a husband, as a wife? And they rip it apart to make sure they're not just reading a line, but they're in the moment, because you have to really absorb that. So that's a great clarifier to make sure people really understand. You have to have your mindset there as well, just like that. What's key number 2?
Well, let me give you
Yeah.
a quick acting example.
Okay.
Let's say an actor, his character called a meeting in the script. Frank calls a meeting with Janet, and so in the script they have a dialogue in that meeting.
Mhm.
So when I'm watching the actor, if I'm the director, I'm watching the actor go through the scene. I'll pull him away for a second, and I'll go, oh, "Wait a minute, man. Do you want to be here?" "Well, yeah, of course I want to be here. It's in the script. I'm supposed to be. I called the meeting. That's not my question. Do you want to be here for this meeting?" "I don't know." "Well, you better find out." And here's the point, because if you can answer the question, it will totally change the way you deliver your lines. Totally. So let's, for an example, say, "No, I don't want to be here. And she's been a problem for months, causing me a headache. I've tried to work with her 10 times, and she just doesn't get it." Now, don't you think that'll change the way that actor says his lines?
Yes.
If he doesn't really want to be there and he knows it, or if he does want to be there, saying, "I really like her. I really worked with her. She's working hard. I don't know what's wrong. I want to help her." If that's why he's there, don't you think that will change the way he says his lines? So let me do a quick example with you, if you don't mind. Can I?
Yeah, sure. Go for it. I'm fair game.
Let's just do this 3 line little acting example.
All right. Here we go.
Line number 1 is, "Good morning."
Good morning.
No, you don't have to say it yet. Line number 2 is, "Oh, it's you." Line number 3 is, "Yes, it's me." So, in this scene, you have come to my house. You rang the bell. I answered the door, and you say your line.
Good morning.
Right. And I say, depending on my reason for being there, I might say, "Oh, it's you." You say,
It's me.
"Okay, let's do a second run." You say, "Ding, ding."
Good morning.
I say, "Oh, it's you." You say,
Hey, it's me.
now, would you react differently to the second one?
Oh, totally.
Right.
It's because you're presenting the downer emotion. You're presenting like, oh crap, why did I answer the door now? Totally get it. And you're
Well,
absolutely right.
because when I ask the question, "Do I want to be here?" the answer is, "Why is this fucking guy bothering me?"
Yes.
8 o'clock on a pardon my French. "Why is this guy bothering me on 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning?" And don't you think that's going to change the way I deliver my line?
Oh, exactly. And if that's
Now,
the
in the real world,
yep.
we have this subtext going on all the time. It's called subtext. It's going on all the time. And even as a speaker, if you're engaging the audience, your subtext is being played out in the way you deliver your lines,
Yes.
your words. If you don't really want to be there, or if you're focused on how nervous and scared you are, or if you're paying attention to things you can't control, like do they like me, do they not like me, the way you deliver your lines, that's your subtext. You're basically, your subtext is, oh my God, I don't know if I really want to be here right now. That's your subtext. And
Or
that will change
or with
your
the guy in the
delivery.
front rows, please sit down.
Exactly. But if your subtext is, oh man, this is so much fun. I'm scared out of my mind, but I'm doing this because I really want to do this. Don't you think that'll change the way you deliver your words? It's got to.
Well, and that's true of coworkers, of anything. When you begin to understand this, and again, I've watched other actors talk about the behind the scenes, and even if they don't have a character background story, they don't have any background stories. Some actors will huddle up and say, "Okay, we both read this. The director's not going to tell us nothing. So what do you think is going on here?" And the actors will create their own backstories because they want to be in the right frame of mind to perform the right way. That's very true for us as performers, speakers, content creators, right?
That's right. That's the only way you can get into their skin. Otherwise, it's just you saying stuff. When I first started acting, I got a lot of roles in the theater, but I was very frustrated because I just felt like it was David saying words. I didn't feel like I was ever really the character that I was playing. So I finally went to an acting class. And please guys, write this down. One of my pieces of advice for speakers or anybody in business actually is go take an improv class. It will be one of the best things you ever did for yourself personally and for your career. The benefit is
100%
astounding.
agree.
It's astounding, the benefit.
It is.
Not only do you become a better listener, you're able to go with the flow because in improv, you have no idea what line is coming at you. You're not supposed to. So you have to listen. And then when I say something, you have to react to that. That's all acting is reacting to somebody.
Well,
So,
and improv also teaches you how your body language and your facial features, because you're not just communicating with the words, which we haven't even touched on the body language stuff, but when you fall into this, you have to learn that everything is exuding and saying something for you, whether you want it to not.
right.
So the whole performance is much greater than just the words. And improv is highly skilled in that area to teach you how to say something without saying something and still stay in character.
Right. It's one of the best things. I tell all my clients to go do that if they can. High schools have them. Uh, Junior colleges have them. Most major college. You don't need to be an actor to go to an improv class. You don't. The benefit is outstanding, in
Yes.
my opinion.
And it helps you think on your feet, helps you stay in
Yeah.
character because you may want to punch the guy in the face, but you don't want to really punch the guy in the face. It helps you be ready. What's some of the other performance things you can teach us here in the few minutes we got?
Well, step number 2 is believability, and that goes on the heels of preparation. When you prepare properly, you're adding to your believability factor. Think about the movies you like. Think about the actors you like. The only reason you like them is because you believe them. That's it. You watch their films and you believe the character. I don't care whether it's a action film or an emotionally heavy film. The reason you like it is because you believe that guy or that woman is that character. So as a speaker, believability is hugely important. Are you natural? And if you do the things I've been talking about, you are automatically more natural. So as a director, people are often doing their monologues in front of me. I'm also an acting coach.
Yep.
And I will stop them literally 5 seconds in. And they'll look at me and go, "Why'd you stop me?" I say, "I don't believe you. What's your name? What's your real name?" "John." "What's your character's name?" "Jack." "Okay. I need to see Jack right away. You can't come out here and work your way into Jack. You need to walk in here like Jack. The first thing out of your mouth needs to be Jack. I need to know you're Jack right away." Now, what does this mean for a speaker? You need to step out there and be you naturally right away. And I have a personal story about that. I used to do a lot of impromptu talks, and sometimes I would go off and waver because I had so many things I wanted to say. I would get a little messy, admittedly. And then I had some quote unquote expert say to me, Dave, you need a model. You need to make an outline. Go make an outline and put it in front of you on the dais. So, okay, I tried it. I'm standing in front of 300 golf pros. And I'm going through this outline, and I look up and I see faces like, and I'm realizing they're not with me at all. And I sound ridiculous. So what I did was, and this is, I'm about to make another point. Write this down, folks. What I did was, I stopped. I looked up at them, didn't say a word. I closed my notebook, and I literally looked at them for almost 30 seconds, which 30 seconds is a lifetime.
Oh,
When you're standing on stage, I literally just stared at them. I didn't move a muscle, and I smiled, and they're looking at me. And I can see the shuffling going on. It's like, uh-oh, what's he doing? The anticipation was tremendous, and I just said to them, "Excuse me. I had an outline that I was using here, and quite honestly, I don't feel good about it. So I'm closing my book, and I'm going to talk to you guys the way I usually do." And I became me again, and I was natural again.
and that is something speakers that I work with, performers, they have to learn how to learn who they are. That's a whole journey of,
Right.
and now as we're more into, you're an expert speaker, not just a keynote speaker, you're not a motivational speaker. The fact that you are an expert, you have to own that space and hold it for your whole keynote presentation. You're not just doing motivation, you are an
Right.
expert. And there's a whole new side that needs to come up because people will not believe you if you don't own that expert stage.
Right. And if you do the preparation phase properly, the believability phase comes more naturally.
Goes way up.
But the big point I wanted to make there beyond that was pausing. A lot of people are afraid to pause. Actors are also afraid to pause.
Yes.
But there is power in the pause. I literally paused for 20 to 30 seconds. And the power that came from that is immeasurable. There's nothing wrong with pausing. You don't need to be talking all the time.
And that was a lesson coming out of radio that I had to learn myself, because TV video is different than radio, where you don't want dead air. Because dead air can be deafening. Silence can be so loud in 20 seconds. You want something to happen. But you're right. When you're on stage, when you're performing, you can use that to have them think about a question. You can have that to draw them into an intimate moment and then come back with a quieter voice. You can do so much with that pause, but that's a whole skill set that takes time, practice, repetition, the wipe on, the wipe off. But once you learn it, it's powerful.
It is, as long as it's natural.
Yes, it's got to be natural.
So when Al Pacino says, "Don't ever take sides against the family again," pause. Okay, that pause after that said everything.
Yes.
Said everything. He didn't need to say anything else. Don't take sides against the family again. Fredo. Boom. That's it. On film and on stage, pausing is incredibly powerful.
Well,
write that down, folks.
Well, and with that performance of the pause, that's where the body language comes in. Because you're not just pausing, you are still physically communicating in the pause.
Absolutely.
And as a performer, and no matter what you say, public speakers, leaders, you are a performer. There's some form of acting or performance in this. You need to really learn how to use the full shell to communicate.
Now, I was able to do that successfully with that group. I could pause for 20 seconds and literally just look at them. Because of my experience with improv and acting, I knew I didn't have to do anything, because I was literally deciding what to do at that point. In my head, I was figuring out, okay, what should I say? And I decided just to be honest. And they loved it because I was honest. I told them, look, this isn't working for me. Somebody suggested that I do it. Clearly, I'm not getting through to you guys, which is not good for you. And it's not me. Boom, book closed.
So with time winding down, what's number 3 that we need to make sure we get from these 3 keys and own this?
Well, number 3 was really differentiating yourself.
Okay.
And we kind of started out with that,
Yeah.
with your first question.
Yep.
But you need to be honest with yourself. What is it about you? Get to the essence of why you are so different. I know why I'm different. It's because of what I said before. I teach laws. I don't teach psychobabble. So when I tell people that, I immediately have their attention. Immediately. Oh, he doesn't sound like a typical guy. That's what they're saying. I can hear it. And I'm not. And I want them to know that I'm not. So I know what the essence of me is and why it's unique and why I differentiate myself from traditional coaching. So you, listener, speaker, person, you need to really sit down and ask some questions. What differentiates me? The golf pros, they couldn't do it. They needed help.
Really?
Yeah. They would call me and say, "Can you help me get clear on this?" Well, that's part of what I do. Yes, I can, because they couldn't see past the traditional, intellectual side of their brain. Well, I'm a golf pro. I teach the golf swing. I teach this. I teach that. What am I doing that's so unique? Well, I'm sure you're doing something unique. How do you talk to people? How do you address people? Do you give them analogies they can understand? And then I tell them one of my greatest golf lessons I ever had, and I took a few from a few people. This guy got to know me. He knew I was a tennis player. So I'm out there on the driving range. He's teaching me to hit a topspin with a driver to make the ball hit the ground and roll forward. And I said, if you try to tell me technical stuff, I'm going to fall asleep. He goes, I know. I read your application. He goes, but you play tennis, right? And I go, yeah. Did you ever hit a cross-court topspin forehand? And I looked at him and I said, only a million times. He goes, do that. And I looked at him and I said, thank you. Thank you. I know what you want. I can do that. If you tried to give me the technical aspects of that swing, I can't hear you. But if you give me an analogy that I can understand, I can hear you. I'm a huge fan of analogies. So speakers use analogies, in my opinion. Get the audience with you going, I know what he's saying. I know what she's saying.
You use story, use analogy, bring them into where you're at. And the more you get away from the head to the heart, you own them even more. When they get their blood pumping, they're with you emotionally. Yeah. That's it. And I do want to go back to the differentiating thing. Speakers, stop calling yourself public speakers. Nobody cares. You're not a keynote speaker. You're not an emotional speaker. You are an expert that speaks. Differentiate yourself, even within your industry. You might be a doctor, but you specialize in brain surgery. Talk about that. You're not just a doctor. You're not just this. You need to really highlight your superpower, your uniqueness, and raise the bar higher and higher.
Right. And you do that by getting to the essence of who you are and what you do. Go beyond the simple explanation. Everybody does that. Everybody teaches the golf swing. Everybody wants to lower their handicap and tells people that's what I'll help you do. That's not enough. There's something behind that separates you, makes me want to pick up the phone and call you instead of that other one. And what is it?
And the more personal that disclosure is, the more personal the analogy is, they will endear themselves more to you, because now you're not just a voice. Now you're just not a presenter. You are a 360 person that has a heart, a soul, a body, a pain, and they can really, really relate to you, not a theoretical story.
Right. Perfect.
David Breslow, it's been a great to have you on, but we do want to let people know you do have videos. You do have a way to help and support people. They can go learn more about who you are. You've worked with golfers, directors, actors. You are very accomplished. You're a writer, and your YouTube channel has some great stuff for them to check out, correct?
It does. And also, I don't know, do you have my website? I'm not sure if you do.
I do have the website.
Okay. Yeah, the YouTube channel has a lot of videos that I made for both peak performance and life, and a lot of golf videos. But a lot of the things I have on the golf videos are translatable into regular life. So it's really all the same for me. It's performance, period. Elevating the way you live, work, and play is really the moniker for me.
So as we wind down here for tonight, and again, what would be the one, maybe the one biggest starting point for people that are struggling with their performance at work, life, whatever, what would you say would be the first place to dive off and begin re-exploring that?
Wake up.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that, David.
Well, here's the deal. You can't make any new decisions while you're sleeping. That's not my opinion. You just can't. You will not. As long as you're sleeping, you will continue to do what you always do. The moment you wake up, you can make new choices where you never have before. So if you're asking me for one thing, that's always the one thing I will say: wake up. And the moment you do that, your life is now changed forever. Because I gave you something you can use forever. That check-in question, every time you do it, you will wake up. Try it, folks. I'm not joking here.
David Breslow, thanks for being with us tonight. And again, performance coach, he knows his stuff. He's worked with celebrities, writer, athletes, and his specialty, like you said, check out his YouTube channel, because golf, what he's really teaching is life stuff. It's not just golf. He's teaching you life, and you need to explore it, check it out, learn more about it. Thanks, everyone, for being with us tonight, for all the different comments. And Jan got the message. Wake up. I think it's a great place to land the show here tonight. Even though we're streaming in the nighttime and on multiple channels, everyone's picking this up wherever they are at, and also in replay. Wake up and start there. We do want to say thank you once again to our sponsors that make this Rock the Stage show possible each and every week. Thank you to the National Speakers Association. The NSA is celebrating 50 years of helping speakers grow and expand their skills, like we've been talking about tonight, and much, much more. Check out the NSA, the National Speakers Association, and Outavita Studios. Outavita is powering Rock the Stage each and every week. They're going to take this video live show and turn it into an audio podcast, and they'll be uploading that and sharing it out on Apple, Spotify, and much, much more. Wherever you subscribe to shows, go find How to Rock the Stage and subscribe to How to Rock the Stage show. And that's going to do it for tonight. Thanks again for our special guest, David Breslow. Go find him on LinkedIn, Facebook, other places, and come back again for more next week, Wednesday night live, 7 p.m. Eastern time, for How to Rock the Stage. We'll see you then.